People like to assume what they can get accomplished on their best day instead of assuming what they could accomplish on their very worst day.
Yeah, man, I haven't heard that approach to kind of visualizing that, but that's solid. I like it.
It helps them understand what their minimum viable commitment can be. And then from that point forward, just like you, we're not saying you need 8 podcasts a month or your podcast is going to suck. Like, no. If you do 8 podcasts a month and you're not even used to doing one and you're stressed out and it's adding all this load. Yeah, it's adding all this load. And oh, by the way, there goes 8 hours of your 160 that you planned on working. Well, 8 plus, probably 16 hours that you planned on working. Yeah. That's gone now. So how do you operate if you lose 16 hours of work, capability in a month? Well, not very well. Okay. So let's back that down to 4 hours a month. How does that sound? Right. Okay. Wow. That's way more manageable. I could do 2 episodes a month. Anybody can. And that's usually where we start people.
Yeah. So setting the expectations. I mean, where we've gotten in trouble early on, it was just not setting the right expectations early on with clients.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've cut to the chase pretty quick. So
we've had similar situations. And I think a lot of people, that happens in the video production business as well. So people get really excited about a video concept and they're like, oh, we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. And then, we used to be really afraid of giving ranges because we wanted to basically say, well, we need to sell them in the proposal and we don't want to, not show the full value of the proposal and give them a price. But in reality, if they can't even quantify the idea that they could be spending $30,000 to $50,000 on a video campaign or a marketing campaign, and they're like thinking 10,000 and they have a $50,000 budget, like in their mind, they have 50K worth of work, but 10K on paper to them, they're never going to buy from you anyway, because you're going to seem way too expensive.
Yep. Yeah. And flushing that out early is always interesting, right?
How do you guys do that?
Man, I mean, so I used an approach today that I think I'm going to train the rest of my sales team on, which was triangulating the ballpark, because everybody wants a ballpark, right? And it's just like, it'd be like going to a builder and saying, I want a 3-bedroom house. How much? What's the ballpark? I won't hold you to it. It's like, well,
yes, you will.
Where is it? Where is it located? What are the fixtures, the furniture? I mean, all of that, right?
30,000 to
right.
5 million.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And we won't hold it to you. We won't hold it to you. So what the approach that I used today, which the client really liked, and I think it was good, is I did the back of the napkin from the requirements they gave us. And I flushed them out some questions. And so I kind of gave them the back of the napkin using kind of broad brush strokes. And it came, in this case, it came to about $500,000. And I then said, let me show you. And I went into our accounting system and I pulled the last 18 months of revenue by client by month. And I found the 4 or 5 projects that were very similar to scope and functionality. And I showed them. It had a mobile app, it had a web interface, it had an admin interface, it had to connect to some APIs, and it had to have a credit card payment gateway, right? So there's like these 5 things. So I found there was 5 or 6 clients with those same functionalities. And I then showed them their spend. I showed the report. And I showed their names because they were all names. They're all clients that are public referrals of us, and they've done case studies. And
cool.
So I showed them their systems, and I showed them here's what they spent. And the average was, $400,000 to $600,000 over the course of 18 months or so for them to get this thing. And they thought that was great. They're like, it's awesome. Then I said, hey, here's what it would take for you to build this in-house. Here's a designer. Here's the average salary. Here's a front end and back end, a full stack developer. Here's a mobile app developer, and here's a PM. And let's assume the PM is also doing QA work. Now I'm getting kind of technical, but hey, here's
You're
what it
doing
would
more
be
than
for
just your project,
right? And it was to do it internally was about $500,000. And so we triangulated this ballpark by here's what we think, and here's how we came up with it. Here's what other clients have spent, and here's what it would take for a team of your own to build it. I mean, they loved it. They're going into a board meeting, and
I love that.
They feel prepared to say, if that board asks them, well, what it would take us to build it in-house? They're going to say pretty much the same, but we're going to lay everybody off in a year. Or what did other people spend, and what's the monthly spend? And so,
dude, that's
more of an educational process versus because I showed them every hour, hey, here's what we broke it down by every type of resource, by module, what we think, threw a pretty hefty contingency in there, and just explained it transparent. Versus just a one pager with a big number.
Yeah, that's super good. I love that you were able to show them the cost of doing it themselves, and also introduce them to the pain of, okay, say you really build a relationship with these 5 people and they're awesome, and you actually, by some stroke of luck, don't hate the people that you end up hiring for your first ever dev project that you don't understand how to manage. Let's just say you just struck gold with who you hired, right? And there's no internal turmoil. They don't have egos, anything along those lines, right?
Of course.
Even if you love them, you're going to lay them off in a year. And that's exactly what you're not going to have to share with them, but you're going to have to internalize that understanding. How's that sound? No. Horrible. Sounds awful.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just the same thing that, when I consume services from other companies, I kind of think about the ones that I value. It's just how do they treat me, It's when you get that blank invoice that just says one-liner, it's versus hey, here's what everything costs. It's what I told you it was going to take. And I think just transparency is key. And